watched that yet? You can get that right at the video store. Flow. This is cool that the word flow would work out into the acronym for the love of water. That's neat. So that's a documentary that you can watch. And what it's about is privatization of water. What's going on is a lot of megacorps want to control the water resources of the world. Because you know how these corps work, right? If you get a whole bunch of people together making decisions as a board, then none of them have to be morally responsible for what happens. So they can get away with all kinds of stuff. Well, if you're Coca-Cola, you guys realize Coca-Cola is everywhere on the planet now. You know, you see more Coca-Cola in the third and developing nations than you do here almost. Anyone ever notice what's that?
Coca-Cola is cheaper than water.
Coca-Cola is cheaper than water in the third world, and water in the third world comes in what kind of containers? Plastic. Ever see Coca-Cola in the third world? Still comes in glass. You guys ever seen that?
Yeah.
You see like an African kid drinking a glass bottle of Coke, like it's 1968 or something. Want to know why? Glass is cheaper than plastic. That blew my mind. I mean, when I heard that, I couldn't even believe it. I would have thought for sure plastic was cheaper. I mean, think about the shipping costs of glass.
Right.
Coca-Cola has found it to be cheaper to move around Coca-Cola in glass than plastic. They give it to us in plastic because the American consumer wants plastic. They don't want the hassle of glass. We do, but they don't. So, that makes sense? You guys with me? It's cheaper to drink Coca-Cola in the third world than water. A huge problem going on in the third world is that kids are being raised on Coca-Cola instead of water because it's cheaper and they literally are scraping together pennies every day. So people are being raised on Coca-Cola. Now, Coca-Cola requires a tremendous amount of water, don't they? Which means as a corp, they want to control a lot of water. That's true for Pepsi, that's true for Nestle. And a lot of these bottled waters, Dasani, and what are some other ones? Aquafina. Translate that, that's Coca-Cola, that's Nestle, that's just these few bottling companies, right? In addition, we have companies like Vivendi, which are these big corps who are trying to control tap water. So right now, the water in this town, pumped in, is controlled by the town. These companies come in and say, hey, we can do it cheap. They go to like the town meeting and go, hey, we can do it cheaper than you guys can do it. Hire us, we'll save you money off your budget every year, just let us run your water system. However, then a corporation's in charge of your water system. And once they get in charge, it's yucky. And that is going on. There's 2 DVDs about it. There's the one Flow, there's another one out too now. I forget the name of it. So there's 2 out, you can watch that. There's a lot of books about that. Blue Gold's the other movie. It's a book as well. A little dark, but worth understanding what's going on in the world. Now, I've been reading about the coming water wars. We live in a wet place. We're not going to really feel that the way that the rest of the world's feeling that. Now, I'd heard a lot, I'd read a lot. I read that Mexico City's sinking because its aquifer is drained. I read that battles are breaking out on the, in other countries. I read that like kids are being bottle-fed Coca-Cola because it's cheaper. But I'd never seen it until just recently in Ecuador. I was with Jeanette and Seth, and we went to go to a village, and we couldn't cross the road was blocked off because 2 towns were having a conflict over water. And I was like, whoa, it's here. It's actually here now. That's actually going on. So when we buy bottled water, we want to be kind of thoughtful where we're giving our money to. Right? We don't want to give out, like you wouldn't buy Coca-Cola, so don't buy water from Coca-Cola. Don't buy water from Nestle, and you'll see it. Just flip the bottle around. Do a little research. If you're going to drink a water, kind of source out a couple waters, the plastic bottled waters, if you're going to drink them. Source out a couple, find out where they really come from. And then consistently buy those, at least, because we want to be cautious about our source for a couple reasons. One, Aquafina is just tap water. It's not really spring water anyway. It's actually just filtered tap. It's reverse osmosis water in a bottle. Some waters are spring waters, but the laws have been changed now so you can call well water spring water. So spring waters often are just boreholes. Now, when you take water out of a spring, that's great. That's just nature's flow. When you drill a big hole 4 feet wide down into the earth and start sucking water out of the aquifers, start draining them. Now, the thing is, right now, Steve could go drill a big hole as he wants to and start sucking water out of this aquifer because he has land rights. You know what I'm saying? That means that all Nestle has to do is go buy 1 acre, put up a building on it. They can take all the water from this town if they want to. Does that make sense? Where I live, right where Leilon lives, there was just a big battle going on where the town fought Nestle out. But this stuff is heavy duty, and it's a battle over your bloodstream. You know what I'm saying? It's your blood. So we kind of want to start getting tuned into a good source. There are a few good sources still. The problem is if you've got a good spring source and you actually just bought spring water, like say as it bubbles up, and you got a good source, Nestle's there going, we'll give you $100 grand. No, we'll give you 250. We'll give you 500,000 for it. They want it. So it's not easy for these companies to stay in business and to be able to compete in the marketplace because their water's more expensive. It's a challenge. So if you're going to buy bottled water, do what you can to support these people. There's a spring in Maine called Summit Spring. And I've become friends with the owner of that spring, and he owns a spring that's been in business for 300 years. And it's the only spring I know of that will show you videotape of the source. If you were like, hey, what are some high-end water bottles that are like you would associate with being great ones, like good ones, the health food store water, like Voss, great. Call up Voss. Say, hey, can I just have a picture of the source where you get the water from? What about Fiji? Yeah. Fiji doesn't want you to see the well of where that water comes from. It's just a well. That makes sense? It's not really springs. Summit Spring is actually a spring source, and I really support that guy because what he's doing, I've seen his operation, it's really, really cool. It's a real deal. The water bubbles up, and they just collect the runoff. And they barely even collect that. They collect like, 1/150th of the daily water output. A river runs out the other side of the building. They can't even bottle it all. His water is so clean because it's not a well. Well water is usually what water? What do we call it? You usually have to soften it because it's what?
Hard.
This is neat. Water from wells comes from the aquifers, right? But it's different than the spring water. It's hard because it's not mature. It's not ready. When you suck it up early, it hasn't finished crystallizing and it's still full of minerals. That's called hard water. Spring water comes up when it's ready. Wow. That's like a little hard to get your head around, but that's what's going on. So his water's so clean, so pure, that he's actually got permission to bottle it with zero cooking, zero treatment.
Wow.
But he still UV treats it. UV treatment's kind of like an antibiotic. Why would he do that? So I say, Brian, why would you do that? He says, because people don't know how to store their water. I was like, what do you mean?